Hello friends, this video on synthetic fibers and plastics part 1 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Topics to be covered in this lesson are introduction, natural versus synthetic fibers, types of synthetic fibers wherein we will talk about rayon, nylon, polyester, plastics and the environment. Now, when we talk about synthetic fibers and plastics, so what are the things that you see around yourself which are made up of these kind of fibers or plastics? So many things, right? You think of the polythene bags which you use to carry stuffs, as you can see here on the screen. So what are they? They are made up of plastics. So not only that, the buckets, cups, saucers, plates, children toys, synthetic clothing materials. So these days you have so many different types of materials which are used to make garments. For example, you have cotton, you have silk, you have artificial silk, you have rayon. You have so many different types of materials to manufacture clothes. You have automobile tires, gears, electric insulating materials, like if you look at the wires are actually made up of metals, like maybe copper wires or something, but outside the wiring you have a covering which is generally made up of plastics. So all these kind of materials, whether you talk about the machinery parts or you talk about a rubber stamp or a rope, which is, so if you look at rope, you see it is extremely strong. At the same time, it is quite flexible. You can fold it at the way you want, but it is so strong that you can use these kind of ropes for rope climbing as well. So then there are threads. So many different types of threads through which you can stitch clothes. You can actually make a lot of stuffs with these kind of threads. So all these things, they involve these kind of synthetic fibers. So basically we will introduce in this lesson what are fibers, and then we will talk about synthetic fibers. We will take some examples and types of synthetic fibers, and finally we will conclude the lesson on a discussion on plastics. So the first question, what are fibers? So fibers are thread or filament which forms constituent of various composite materials. So these are like threads or some filaments, and those filaments together form fibers, and fibers in turn form fabric. Now, if you would have ever been to a shop for buying some kind of clothes, so what do they ask? That what kind of fabric do you want? Whether you want it in silk, or you want it in rayon, you want it in nylon, you want it in polycot, you want it in terrycot, cotton. So what are these? These are all different types of fabrics, and these fabrics are made up of fibers. So fibers are nothing but thread-like structures, and many such thread-like structures are woven to form a fabric. Now, when I say these fibers form a lot of composite materials, what do we mean by composite materials? These materials could be textile like clothes. It could also be vegetable fibers. So these thread-like natural or synthetic strings. Now these filaments or these thread-like structures can be natural or it can be synthetic. Now when I say natural, that means the thread-like structure already exists in nature. And when we say synthetic, that means we artificially modify them, we artificially produce them. So that is like synthetic. So these thread-like structures could be natural or synthetic, but both of them are used to make a wide variety of products like paper, felt, sheets. So some of the examples of fibers are cotton, silk, wool. These are all examples of fibers. So basically, what do you understand? Fibers are thread-like structures, and many such thread-like structures together form a fabric. And fibers are hair-like or filament-like structures. Now they can exist as continuous filaments, or they can exist as discrete elongated pieces. Right? So if you in fact have time, just have a look at wool. So when you look at one particular string of wool, what do you see? So that one particular string also is made up of tiny strings. So those fibers are together woven to form the fabric, and the fabric is wool. and this wool can be used to make a lot of woolen stuffs like sweaters, caps, gloves, and so many other things. So this is fiber. Now, there are two types of fibers, natural fibers and synthetic fibers. So first, let us see what are natural fibers. The name itself says natural, that means they exist in nature. So these fibers are obtained from plant or animal sources. Now, anything that already exists in nature, that means it is obviously derived either from some or the other living organisms. So these kind of fibers are formed either from plants or from animal parts. So let us look at some examples of natural fiber. So some common examples are cotton, flax, jute, hemp, coir, tree wood, wool, silk. These are all examples of natural fibers. So now you know when you say cotton is a fiber, so many such cotton threads are together woven to form the fabric which is called cotton, and then that fabric is used to prepare, they can be used to produce shirts, frocks, pants, dresses. So that's how cotton can be used. So now from where do we get cotton? So cotton is derived from a plant source. So basically it is an example of a seed fiber. It is collected from the seeds of cotton plant. So you see, this is a cotton plant. This is how cotton plant looks like, and so you see these are the seeds of cotton plant, and from seeds only we get what we actually know as cotton. Similarly, if you talk about flax, jute or hemp, so all these are skin fibers. So these are all skin fibers. What do you mean by skin fibers? So these are collected from the skin surrounding the stem of their respective plant. So when you look at the stem, this is the stem. So outside the stem, the outermost layer or the skin of the stem. So from that skin, we get flax, jute and hemp. So that is why these are called skin fibers. Then you have coir. So coir is a coconut fiber which is obtained from coconut. So coir is obtained from coconut. So if you look at the structure of a coconut, you will see the outer brown layer which is like kind of rough. So that's how the coir fabric also looks like. So that's because it is derived from coconut. Then you have tree wood. So this is obtained from stalks of different plants like bamboo, then straw of wheat or rice. So these are the sources for tree wood. Now you see, different natural fibers, they have different sources, but all of them are derived either from a plant source or from an animal source. So if you talk about wool, so wool is obtained from a lot of animals. For example, if you see sheep, so they have that woolen protective covering over their body which helps them to survive in cold conditions. So from the skin of sheep we derive wool. Similarly, if you talk about silk, silk is obtained from an organism called silkworm. So you see, there are different sources for each of these natural fibers, and again each of these fibers. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.